Ms. Crockett.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much, Administrator, for being here. A couple of things that I want to try to run through as quickly as possible. Are you familiar with NOAA?
NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration?
Yes.
Yes.
And out of curiosity, you obviously knew what NOAA stood for. When we are trying to prepare for these disasters as they are impending, do you rely on information that you receive from them in getting prepared for a potential disaster?
NOAA is a critical partner of FEMA's, whether it's through their National Hurricane Center to give us forecasts for where hurricanes and the strength of hurricanes are going to hit, or the National Water Center that helps us understand what the flooding impacts are going to be, or the Severe Weather Center that talks about tornado forecasts. All of this is important to make sure that, one, we can inform individuals that are in harm's way, but also help us prepare and pre-position our resources to support any immediate response needs.
Thank you for that. So you'd agree with me that any administration that would decide that it wants to get rid of NOAA, that would probably make your job that much more difficult?
Without the scientific data that we get from NOAA to help us make decisions and warn the public, it would make that job more difficult.
Okay, I want to talk about money, and I want to talk about it a lot here in a minute. Listen, we had a vote that was right before these terrible hurricanes that we've been talking about, Milton and Helene, came in. And in that particular vote, we had an opportunity to decide how much funding was going to go to FEMA. And it is my understanding that on this committee, we had a few members that decided that they were not going to vote in support of that funding. I don't know how closely you follow, but we had a number of members who actually served not only on this committee, but they serve in states that have been mentioned, such as Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. And right now, it is my understanding that we're having a hearing because there is a concern about a specific individual who potentially skipped, I think the total was 20 homes, correct? And in those 20 homes, if you had to guess, and I don't know if you've been back to those 20 homes at this point in time to see what resources, if any, were needed, but if you had to guess approximately how much money are we talking about did not potentially get distributed immediately to those 20 homes?
All 20 homes have been revisited by our disaster survivor assistance teams. I do not know how many have actually applied for assistance, but the maximum amount that's available for an individual through this disaster was $42,500 for housing assistance and another possible $42,500 for other needs assistance.
Okay. What I'm hearing, though, is we're talking about 20 houses. The data that I have in front of me shows that over 18,000 interactions have been conducted for survivors of both Hurricane Helene and Milton. Is that approximately correct?
I would say that that number is probably much higher than that.
Okay. Give me your number. Well, somewhere, let's presuppose that the number was 18,000. If we talked about 20 out of 18,000, that would mean that we are currently using resources to have a hearing about 0.1% of interactions. So this is not something that we would consider to be widespread when we start talking about percentages that are as low as 0.1%. In addition to that, it's my understanding that as of November 13th, FEMA has delivered over 16 million meals, over 18 million liters of water, over 3,000 rolls of blue roof sheeting, over 700,000 gallons of fuel, and additionally, FEMA has delivered over 2,000 tractor-trailer deliveries containing critical supplies. Do you have any reason to have any discrepancies about those numbers?
No.
In addition to that, it's my understanding, you're right, that over 671,000 households impacted by Hurricane Helene have received over $503 million from FEMA's Serious Needs Program, and over 218,000 households impacted by Hurricane Milton have received over $145 million. Yet and still, we had members on this committee. It looks like we had, there were 82 members that opposed the bill to fund when we knew that this was coming, thanks to NOAA. And 19 of the 26 Republicans on this oversight committee voted against the bill to keep FEMA funded. And 9 are in states that were directly hit. I don't understand why we come in and pretend that we have all these issues with your agency, and I thank you for your service, when you don't want to fund it. You can't complain about these issues. And when we're talking about, you know, the people that got skipped over, maybe or maybe not, ultimately, there was a concern about safety. Now, hopefully we will get the full investigation, but we know that it was Trump that was out there himself. He was putting out disinformation and misinformation to the extent that y'all had to set up an entire website to try to combat it. That was in disservice to all Americans, because when a hurricane hits, it doesn't go into the Democratic areas. It doesn't go to the independents. It doesn't go to the Republicans. It goes to American citizens. It is time for us to decide that we are going to work together and make sure that we can take care of people regardless of the decisions that they decide to make on who they want to put into the White House. And I thank you for your service, and I yield.